The agent on another episode of Sneakers and Real Estate, two of my favorite things that I love to talk about. Today we are going to be talking about the Jordan 4 Amamaners while you were sleeping. So I don't know if people really are sleeping, but
They sleeping.
I think they're sleeping.
They
A lot
sleep.
of people are not really paying attention to these. I don't know if you want to call these mauve or what you want to call them when it comes to the colorway, but I mean, I love the colorway. The Whittaker group, they always do a really good job when it comes to the sneakers. The material that they use in the front, the leather lining on the inside. So to me, I think it's a really dope shoe. I haven't worn it yet, but definitely, I think this is another sneaker that you need in your arsenal. You probably got to take away. It has to be on foreign soil, so you definitely got to break these out somewhere out of the country, in my opinion, anyway.
Somewhere in Dubai.
Somewhere in Dubai. There you go. So if you don't have these, I would definitely suggest that you get a pair. We're going to be talking about a little bit more about sneakers with this guy that's standing next to me, sitting next to me, actually. We're going to talk about some mortgage information, find out what's going on with that with my son.
Yeah, so right now with the mortgage rates right now for 30-year fix, it's a little around 6.5%. And then for 15-year, it's a little under 6%. So right now is still a great time to buy or sell, especially with the year coming to an end. For tax purposes, people have to purchase investments. People looking to sell, you definitely want to sit down and consult with somebody before you make any decision what you're looking to do. You want to lay out a plan for you, yourself, your family. So everything has to make sense and be calculated. So you definitely want to sit down with an agent like one of us and, figure out what's the best steps and more so timeline for when you're planning to actually get started, what you're looking to do. So,
yeah, so we have a guest, someone that I can actually call a friend, a colleague, Kevin Iglesias. For those that don't know, if you've been under a rock or have been sleeping, but this guy's all over the place. This is my guy.
Yo, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you. You're a busy guy, so we definitely need to kind of hone in, chop it up. We drove out.
Yeah, you guys drove out for me, man.
We had to drive out for you because we appreciate you. It's nothing but love and respect.
Of course. Man.
So for those that don't know you, I guess we'll kind of go back a little bit. What's the family background?
Family background? You mean like?
Where's the family from? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Rockaway, Queens.
Okay.
We lived like I was saying, we pretty much bounced all around.
All over the place.
Like Hempstead, Woodmere, Cedarhurst, Inwood, until I finally moved out here to Suffolk County.
Okay.
So that's how I'm so familiar with the entire island and the boroughs because we've been everywhere.
You've been everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So when you're younger, you don't like jumping from apartment to apartment. But now that I'm in the business, I'm like, oh, okay, now
it kind of makes sense. It works.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What was I gonna ask you? How long have you been in business? For those that don't know.
So I got licensed in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do for real estate?
Before real estate, I used to work for a private company. They used to basically go around chopping the trees off. By the electrical wires.
Oh, okay.
So I was a groundsman. Yeah, I used to wake up at like 4 a.m, be at the yard by like 5, get out like around 3:34. Sometimes do more.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've seen everything.
Yeah, I mean I've pretty much done everything.
You've done everything too.
Yeah.
Well, I think your background, my background, me being from Nigeria, born in Brooklyn, lived in Nigeria. I think we've both kind of seen everything and done everything.
I think we know nothing but hard work.
Nothing but hard work. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hard work and dedication, folks. This particular year, because we've had a lot that's gone on with real estate in the last couple of months. How has that affected your business, if anything?
Thank God my business is strong, bro. Like,
Knock on wood.
I just came back from speaking at Triple Play. I'm sorry.
Right.
I was there speaking last year, and it was packed out, packed.
Nice.
Like you couldn't even basically walk through the halls.
Wow.
Speaking this time, like it was not as busy, there was not so many agents. So of course, you know what happened this year? The NAR settlement.
The NAR settlement, right? Which happened August.
In August.
August. So almost 6 months ago.
Yeah. So that happened. Not only that, now you have agents that haven't been using Matrix,
Right.
had to switch over to use
Switch over,
Matrix.
right? The new system that we're all kind of dealing with. Some love it, some hate it.
I tell people all the time, we've been living in the Matrix. Now you just got to get into the Matrix.
You got to get in the
yeah?
matrix. You hear that?
But it's a big difference. Like there was not a lot of agents there whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, it was still, still a good time. Still, but compared from last year to now, it was
Because you've seen it for both years, so you can definitely speak on it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you have the little, where the vendors are, not little, but it's a big space, and you go mingle and talk to the sponsors, the vendors, and everybody else, and it was like last year you couldn't walk through there.
Right.
Now there was some space.
There was some space. There was some movement.
But it just goes to show you that only the strong last. It's
Only the strong last.
This business is not made for everybody.
It's true, and I try to tell people that all the time because I'm 22 years in the business, and we had what happened in 2008 with the market crashing, and over the last year and a half, just some of the changes that have gone on and how the market has been as far as not enough inventory and then the NAR settlement and just some of the different things that have gone on. I try to tell people, like you said, only the strong survive. And if you are not putting in the time, the work, the effort, you're not going to last.
Of course. That's what people don't see. And I posted this on my story the other day. Somebody holding up success and just smiling.
Right.
This is what people see, and then versus what they don't see, and it's hard work, consistency, doubt, failure, risk. That's what people don't see.
The late nights, the
course,
rejection, the people telling you no, and just some of those different things, they don't see it. But I think, like you said, this business is not for everybody, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, that it takes a lot of resilience, a lot of persistence.
Yeah.
To actually succeed in this market. I don't think anybody knows that better than you, because you're someone that actually, how you go about getting your business. You do a lot of prospecting, a lot of you speak to you call a lot of people.
That's how I built my business. I was just face to face with people, door knocking, cold calling, getting on the phones. You know why? Because before real estate, I was going to be a stockbroker, getting my Series 7. Yeah. So when I was going to intern, they had all the interns basically jump on the phones, and we had stacks of papers, like thick.
Wow.
And they were like, call these people. We couldn't sit. It was literally just standing. Yeah, from 9 to 12, lunch for an hour, studying in between time, and then just
get
jumping
back
on the phones. So
that kind of reminds me of the movie The Boiler Room.
Yeah, so I was already conditioned with that mindset. Yeah, like, all right, I got to get on the phones. I got to make it happen.
Nice.
And I was the number one guy on the phones.
Nice.
And this
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
And this was when I was, in 20, 21? Okay. You know what I mean? Just so some years back, I'm 34 now. And I remember because I was the nicest car I've ever driven. The CEO had a Mercedes, white Mercedes, and I jumped in it. I'm like, damn, this thing ain't got no, it's just like buttons. I'm like, I'm in a spaceship right now. And I was stalling it. Like, I didn't even know how to drive it. He's like, yeah, take my car to lunch, get it washed, go do your thing, be back here by this time. And I was like, all right.
All right, cool.
But I didn't even know how to drive it.
Wow.
I didn't know how to drive the car at the time. And I was like, damn. But there was guys that looked like us in there, tattooed on the neck, hands and everything. And he's like, look how much money I made this month. It was like 60 G's in a month.
Wow.
So when I was like, damn, like.
And you were 21 at the time?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, look, I want to motivate you. And he showed me that big check. He's like, this is what I'm doing month after month after month.
Wow.
And I was like, damn. You know what I mean? Wow. And all he's doing is behind the phone. They don't see him.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't see him. It's just him pitching himself, selling himself.
Nice.
And when I saw that, I was like, damn, the window of opportunity is there.
It's just like you said, I think, it's a different shift from you calling for, like stock stuff, and you just kind of flip that to real estate.
Yeah, because you're talking to CEOs, right? Millionaires.
Right.
People with a lot of money.
Right.
So once you get a yes from them, it's like, you're on cloud 9. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I can talk to pretty much anybody. Yeah. Yeah. So
and I think that's what people don't understand, that when you're on the phones and you're calling, you could make 100 calls and get 99 no's, but you get that one yes, and then it kind of helps propel your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your I guess confidence in a sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, the more people you speak to, and you convince. Like I just spoke to this lady on the phone the other day, and she said no at first, and then she's like, you know what? Come by on Tuesday. I'm free Tuesday.
Wow.
I said we'll sit down and we'll discuss everything, because you know what it is. the people who add value to others
Right.
are always gonna make money. I tell
Right.
people all the time, we're in a people business, and the more problems you know how to solve, the more money you're gonna make.
Right.
If you're a problem solver, you know you're gonna make a lot of money.
Nice. Got a question?
Yeah, so I guess you were saying you were gonna do the stock, being a stockbroker. So how did you go from being a stockbroker to going into real estate? Like,
So I never went to go get the license. I was studying, and then I ended a relationship that I was with, you know, for years. So
Really?
yeah, when you're young, you know, you get caught up in the.
Of course.
So I was like, damn, I'm just gonna do something else. Like I just wasn't focused. To be honest, you know, I didn't go through with it, but I'm glad that I went through that because it conditioned me mentally and it prepared me for real estate.
Right.
You know, sometimes we work jobs that we're like, damn, we don't want to do this, not realizing that that's...
Well, we do what we have to do because we don't have a choice.
Exactly,
right?
but sometimes those positions help us on later on in the future.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I would have never had that, would I had the skill to just jump on the phone and be confident and not care what people say, you know what I mean?
Right.
And pitch them over the phone? I don't think so. So
That's true.
I'm grateful I went through it, even though I didn't get the license, you know? But I took the skill set, put it in real estate, and then just
So you
propelled
studied,
me.
you were, like you said, you were studying for the test. You just didn't go through.
Yeah, pretty much. But yo, before we continue though, I bought sneakers too, bro.
Oh, so let's talk about it.
Yo, these not fire?
Depending on who you talk to. Guys, you see what he's
Nike,
holding up? I was actually about to ask you.
up-tempos?
I was about to ask you about some sneakers.
Bro.
Up tempos are they're okay. What
All right, so you want to know the meaning of these sneakers, bro? So
I know it
these-
had to have a meaning behind it.
Bro, so the reason why I started hustling and started creating money is because of these sneakers.
Really?
But this is not even the identical pair of the sneakers that I had.
Okay.
Because the sneakers that I had was so fake, I couldn't even find them online today.
Wow. I was gonna say maybe they had a hole in the front, but I guess I was completely wrong.
Bro, the colorway, everything was off about the sneakers. Bro, you know, like,
It wasn't a pair that Nike made. It's basically what you're saying.
basically
Okay.
not.
Okay.
So I wore them to school, and I should have knew, right? The guy came like a family party, Spanish party, selling sneakers, gold, like pretty much everything.
Oh, he sold everything.
Yeah, it was
Jack
just
of all
a
trades.
one-stop shop.
Okay. He had a
And-
trench coat too?
Nah,
All
I don't
the
think
stuff in
that's
there?
cinch.
He
Nah,
did- okay.
nah. But
I'm showing my age. I'm sorry.
but my parents bought them, and I wore them to school the next day. And of course, I was like, nah, nobody's gonna notice. Bro, I'm walking up those stairs like, yo, what
are those?
What are those before? What are
Before-
those came
really?
even out? Yeah, and I was like, damn, and I was getting cracked on. The girls were there just laughing. I'm like, yo, I felt like my heart went to my stomach.
Right.
I was like, I never want to feel like this again.
Ever again, right?
But again, my parents didn't have it like that.
Yours didn't. Mine didn't either.
Yeah, so
growing up, it was five of us. How many brothers and sisters you got?
Three.
Okay,
So I got an older brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
But they didn't have it like that. You know, times are tough. We was jumping from apartment to apartment.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, man, how can I create money? You know what I mean? How can I start to buy myself my own stuff?
Right.
Where I don't have to ask somebody
Anybody
for something.
fine. Wait, so how old were you when you went through this?
Bro, I was probably like 11
When you
years
had the
old.
Fugazi, I don't know what we even call those.
I don't even, I tried to search for the colorway.
Fugazi up tempos?
They didn't even have them online. You know, like online, you can find pretty much everything on Google. I was like, I spent
That's the one pair you couldn't find?
I couldn't find them, bro. I couldn't even find like identical nothing at all. Like I was like, I'm mind blown right now. They're like, these things were beyond fake.
Wow. Oh my God.
But I started downloading music. I bought blank CDs, and then I started downloading from like LimeWire, Napster, and everything
Okay.
else.
You
And I was
taking it
making
back?
my own CDs. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was selling them out of my locker. $5 a pop, 2 for 10. Custom CDs like 15. Plus another mixtape that I had going. You know, back then it was like G Universe.
Wait, so you were
D-Block.
making playlists back in the days?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would go on my dad right there in Rockaway, cop all the the latest mixtapes, put them into download them and make my own CDs.
And then make your own CDs?
Yeah.
Wow,
Just
this
sell
guy's
them.
been hustling, folks. He's been hustling. Wow, okay.
But I took that, and I say that because I took that negative and turned it to a positive.
positive,
You know
right.
what I mean? I didn't let that hold me back, or I didn't feel sorry for myself or anything. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, how can I get it? How can I make this?
Well, you're not.
It's money.
I think whenever you're going through that, you're never supposed to feel sorry for yourself. It's always everything is It's a learning curve. It's a learning experience. When you're growing up, like I said to you, me growing up, it was 5 of us. So for you, it was 3 of you guys. And when we were buying sneakers, my dad would take us to Alexander's.
Nah,
Folks, you guys maybe okay.
bro, I know Payless.
Okay, I knew Payless. We had Payless, we had Conway, right, and we had Alexander's. So Alexander's, when you were getting the sneakers were actually stapled together, and then you had to try them on with both feet and then hop around the store like Bugs Bunny.
Really?
That's what we had to do back. Yeah. So we similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, but that's I had to bring some heat.
We're not gonna touch that one. I mean, a lot of people don't know that you are a big sneakerhead.
Yeah, I used to camp out on the lines, wait for the new J's to come out. I just
Well, you were buying and you were flipping the sneakers, right?
yeah, buying and flipping it. But yeah, I would buy a pair for myself, buy another pair and flip it. You
Right.
know what I mean? But there came to a time in real estate that I was so broke. I was like, damn, I gotta let go of some sneakers, and I ended up selling.
You had to liquidate, right?
Yeah, I had to liquidate a lot of them.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
Look, I wish I would tell my wife when I'm buying some of these sneakers, I'm like, these are investments. At some point, why are you laughing for?
Nah, it's true because I know you. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. That's what I try to tell him. He's laughing too, because when you get into a jam, you buy a pair of sneakers, you don't wear them, and you can actually sell that sneaker for more than what you pay for it.
I watch YouTube and some people are selling their pairs, depending on the pair, for like 30 grand, 20 grand. There's some heat that comes out, and it's like that's crazy. The retail price is like $150, maybe $250 at max.
Yeah.
And they're selling them for how
30
much?
or 40,000.
It's a down payment on a house.
On a house, yeah. Look at the Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
I know somebody that paid $150,000 for those. Right.
That's OD.
Right. We
I that's not financial advice, but I don't condone that.
Seek with your financial. We're not even going to touch that. Yeah. So you've been. I guess if we take it back when you were growing up, you remember what your first job was?
Selling CDs, bro. I was a bootlegger.
Wow, you were legit bootlegger. Okay.
Yeah, I can't recall my first job, but it was always like in retail. You know what I mean? I always dealt with like people's customer service.
Okay.
So I was always face to face with people.
Okay.
This business, like I said, you know how to succeed if you really understand people's personalities. You know what I mean? You got to know who your clientele is, and you got to really set expectations. Because me, I don't like to wait. I'm very impatient. So if I'm dealing with somebody like me, you got to make sure you give them the information before they could even ask.
Wait, so you're a high D personality?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both high Ds, folks.
Yeah.
Personality tests, you could.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got to give them the information. It's about having the information and give it to me now.
And if I need something done, I need it done now, not like tomorrow.
You can't wait on it.
I can't wait.
Nice. How do you how many people right now do you have on your team?
So right now, total of 9 or 10 right now.
Okay.
But I came in the game not knowing a single soul. I tell people this all the time. I got in the business just watching too much HGTV, bro.
Oh, you were doing the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was like, damn, show 3 houses and you get a check.
And you sell one and you get, right.
Yeah. And then,
has that ever happened?
Nah.
Okay.
Not at all.
Right.
I mean, maybe
it might have happened to me once or twice, folks, in 22 years.
Once.
So, right.
I show them one house, like, nah, this is the one we want. I'm like, you sure?
Right.
I'm not used. I'm like, there's more.
There's more that I gotta. Yeah, it don't normally work this way.
Yeah, it don't. Like, no, this is the one. I'm like, okay.
Right.
That's gonna be your house. So
yeah,
if you feel like that's the one, you feel it in your gut, let's make it happen. I'll negotiate it.
Nice. How do you balance your family time, because you're a father, you're a husband, and you have a team of 9 or 10 people? How do you balance all that?
If you could find somebody who says they have a perfect work-life balance, you can't. It's tough to find, but I think you need to people make time for what they want to, right? Sure. And if they don't want to do it, they'll make excuses. It's not easy, you know what I mean? But the way the team came about, I wasn't looking to start a team.
It was kind of organic, I would assume.
It was super organic because agents would come to me, they would see my success and
right.
How can I get there? How can I do what you're doing? And then I was helping them, coaching them, and then I was just like, yo, why don't we just start a team? It just makes sense. Yeah, just start a team. Because I was getting so many listings, so much business, I couldn't be in multiple places at once. So that's with any business, you got to scale. You
sure.
got to hire the right people, and you got to make sure that they have the same mindset as you do.
Right.
And not everybody has the same why. Some people are okay doing 5-6 deals a year.
That's true.
Some people can't survive off of that. You know what I mean? Some people need 5-6 deals a month.
A month.
You know what I mean? So it's a different mindset. Different people have different whys. But to find I'm speaking, right? Speaking, making time for speaking, spending time with the wife and the kids, the business,
Right.
plus in doing the podcast. What you guys do is a lot of work.
Right.
People don't realize
I was about to touch on that too, because I know that you have the podcast too, Real Estate and Chill.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not easy, especially with content. You got to be super consistent.
Right.
You know, that's what anything. You want to be super successful in anything, you got to be.
You got to be consistent.
You know, and it's a lot of work. People don't realize that, but this will get you in the right doors.
Right.
You know, doing the content. That's how my speaking opportunities came about. It's just
Nice.
content.
Nice.
You know what I mean? People resonate with the content. They like the message. They respect my story.
And they gravitate towards you, and they buy into you.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, that's what I have been doing from day one, is building that brand.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Because I was never on social media. From 2016 to 2021 is when I jumped on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I wasn't looking at anybody else's success. You know, I wasn't scrolling, liking. I didn't care about none of that.
Well, you did whatever you were doing.
I was just hitting the phones, boots on the ground, hitting doors, expires for semi-owners, getting
Nice.
referrals.
Nice.
I was so focused on
Building your business.
not only building my business, but I was still living in the hood. You know, I had to get up out of there.
Staying afloat.
I came out of my mom's basement, and I was just like, man, I got to get out of here, bro. Like, I got to get out of here.
Nice.
And my second thought was like, smells good. What's my mom cooking right now? But I got kicked out of the basement, and they moved me into like the middle room.
Okay.
And I was like, what, 26? And I remember just staring at the ceiling one night, and I was like, damn, I feel like a failure, bro. You know what I mean? And
I think when
as
they
a
move
man,
you upstairs, next you know it's out the door, right? At least that's how I'm thinking. I don't know if I'm wrong, but
you're 26 years old, you know, as a man, you know how it feels when you feel like a failure, right? You're like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should have some accolades under my belt. I don't have anything to my name. You know what I mean? I need to make something out of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what motivated me. Like,
That was the turning point for you.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Nice.
Yeah. I think because I was comfortable in the basement, if they would have never kicked me out of the basement to move me upstairs,
You were just
I would have just floated.
Right.
I was
you were
comfortable.
complacent. You were comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's the number one negative thing that you can do, is just be comfortable.
Right.
You got to get uncomfortable in everything that you do. I didn't like how I looked on camera when I was shooting content. But I understood, you know, the content game.
How important that it was, and how necessary that it is to actually shoot the content, because you have to find a way to stay in front of the people.
People always ask me, like, what's the ROI on content? Like, are you getting back what you invested? You got to think long term, because those people who are short sighted, they'll do content and then they'll stop.
If you don't see any instant gratification, you feel like I'm just not going to do it.
Same thing with like people who go to the gym and work out for a month, maybe 2 months. I don't see any results, I'm done. You know what I mean? You can't. You just got to keep going.
You got to keep going.
You may not see it right away, but I'm seeing it now. You know, getting a lot of business from social media, people reaching out. Again, you want to set yourself apart from everybody else, and that's how you start building the brand. You know, that's how you start getting your name out there. Video is one of the most powerful tools.
It is now. I mean, you know, you talking about it like when you got started, how you didn't really pay attention to social media. So you think about me 22 years ago, when there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, there was none of that. So for us, you know, basically kind of comes down to the same thing that you were doing, kind of, you know, hitting the boots, you know, to the ground, not really having any business. You got to go out there and kind of drum up your own business. And, you know, I try to tell people that too. You just got to find a way to kind of stay the course.
Yeah. Because again, I didn't have a sphere either. So I didn't know anybody.
Same thing for me. My first year, I sold one house. I bought a house. My broker took half the money. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing about nothing.
I sold 2 houses in my first year. I could have made more money working at McDonald's. You know what I mean? But then when I got out over my own, you know, I was out of my own way, out of my own head.
They call that the drunk monkey, right?
Yeah, because you know what? I think social media and just everything in general, you know, you see girls getting lip fillers and Botox and everything else now. The media controls so much. And I was so focused on, when I was watching those HGTV shows, I didn't see anybody who looked like us.
Right.
I didn't see anybody who looked like me, tattooed up and coming from my background. So for me, it was like a little discouraging, because I don't know if I could make it and be successful in this business, because
where do I fit in?
Else. Exactly.
Right.
So in the beginning, I started covering up my tattoos.
The tattoos. I remember you were telling me the one that you have in your neck.
I used to cover up my tattoos, just try to fit in. And it would never work because you could still see it through the makeup. And my white shirts were all orange, so it looked like I just rubbed up against a Oompa Loompa. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I got to the point where, thank God I was so successful. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna be me.
Just be me.
Yeah. And again, people would make comments, but those people are not your people. You don't have to work with everybody.
It's true. And you're not everybody's cup of tea. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's about trying to figure out the people that actually buy into you and want to do business with you, and the way that you carry yourself, the way that you do your business. I go all the way back to, like I said, 20 years ago when my kids were 1 and 4, I would take them to the office with me because no one was around to watch the kids. My wife was at work, and a lot of people didn't understand. But I said to the office manager there, this is, it's either you got to take me as I am. Take me with the kids or without. It's either one or the other. Or it's not going to be able to work.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. In the beginning of my career, I worked with a lot of people that I didn't want to work with because I had to.
We didn't have a choice.
Exactly. So you had to make the sacrifice. You kind of just had to, bite your lip and just keep it pushing.
Right.
But you get to a certain point in your career, you're like, I don't have to work with them.
Right.
I don't have to work with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you could basically pick and choose. But that's the beautiful thing about having a team. I just did this. I connected with a lady. We hit it off. I went to their house. I was waiting like 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, yo, I got to go to another appointment. Like, I'm not going to.
You got stuff to do. Right.
So I booked it. I left, and I called somebody on my team. I said, you guys would be the perfect match. I said, call her, pitch her. It's yours. She did. She took my advice, listened to everything I said, and now she got the listing.
Wow.
But that's the beautiful thing is I'm still going to get paid on that because I brought it to the table. Right. I always say this, keep the money in the circle. With a team, you got to make sure that everybody eats.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's good having a team because you understand other people's personalities.
Right.
And if there's something that comes
but
to you.
But they also understand yours.
Yeah, exactly.
And your expectations, what you expect of them.
Yep, exactly.
And what they have to bring to the table if you're looking to be part of somebody's team who's already doing business and it's successful. What was I going to ask you?
Well, how long have you had your team for?
Yo, I did everything like at once, bro. 2021, I got on social media. 2021, I won top 20 under 40.
Congrats. I won that too.
Thank you.
I scraped in, I think, the day before I was turning 41. 40 years. I just barely got it.
So I got on social media, top 20 under 40, started the team, started the podcast, and just everything at once. Like, I'm a very, like, I got to give it all or nothing. Like, it's all gas, no brakes. I'm not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I got to do it, and I got to make sure it works.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So everything pretty much came about in 2021. So it's 3 years now? We're about to go into...
Your 4th.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Is there anybody that, well, not a particular person, but that you started with on your team a while ago that you had to actually scale and actually cut back on because they weren't
I think that's, like you're saying, like firing somebody?
Mm-hmm.
I think, you got to understand that if you're becoming a part of a team, there's certain...
expectations.
Exactly. And if you're not meeting those expectations, I always say hire quick, fire quick. You know what I mean? If they don't have that mindset.
Or producing or bringing in, or like you said, you have to be on that same wavelength.
Yeah. I mean, look, I made some hires that just didn't pan out. It's business.
It's business.
That's with any business.
Right.
But you learn, you go through the process and you learn. When it comes to money, everything changes. Relationships change.
Right.
It's not the same. People change when it comes to money. And you see that, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it is what it is. You keep pushing.
Right.
The thing with me is I was already successful before I had the team. Mm-hmm. And I tried to work with other people. Like, I tried to partner up with people, and I was getting screwed. Pause. They were taking my leads. Like, I'd be like, yo, I got this lead. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, they would list it. And I'm like...
And you end up with nothing.
I see it on MLS. Like, no, they didn't say it. They didn't mention anything to me. Just took it. And when I called them and confronted them, they're like, oh, don't worry. I'll give you something out of it. It's like, yo, but I'm the one who told you about
I brought
the
it to the table.
I told you, let's go work it together, and then you go behind my back and you take it. But see, our background is different.
It is.
If you know what I mean,
of course,
different. So I had to take it on the chin and be like, it's business.
Right.
It's not like something I'll catch you at the bodega later. You know what I mean?
How like you said, I think for us, how we grew up and coming up a certain way, there's certain things that you can and can't do because there's repercussions.
Yeah. So when I realized is, and my wife said, she's like, it's business. You know, it's you're
Not
not
personal.
It's you gotta. It's not. You're not in that mindset no more. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, because obviously I was pissed. Anybody would be upset.
Of course.
You know, it'd be like, yo, what the heck? But again, that's why I didn't work with somebody. That's why I didn't join a team, because I'm like, you know what? I'll figure this out on my own.
On your own.
If I fail, I'm gonna be mad at myself.
On yourself.
But I'm not gonna be able to blame somebody else.
Right.
You know, if I fail, it's because of me. I didn't do the work. I didn't put the reps in. I didn't make the calls. I didn't get out there. So I was fine with failing, and I failed multiple times.
We all do.
Yeah.
That's just part of the game.
But I tell people that you only truly fail once you quit. You know,
I try to tell people that all the time as well. You know, people will say, well, you know, they'll see what you're doing, they'll see what I'm doing, and say, you know, you can be here. But it's like, I'm cool with what I'm doing, because me doing it automatically for me is not a failure. You know, you can have an idea and you don't execute on it. To me, that's failure. When you execute and you're doing it and you're in your own space, to me, I feel like the success is right there, and it's going to go wherever it's supposed to go.
I agree 100%. You know,
Nice.
you got to be resilient in this business. You can't. You got to have tough skin.
Right.
You got to be mentally strong,
Right.
because you're gonna get rejected left and right. You know, what you do with that rejection leads up to your success.
Where you're going to end up.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, you just got to be resilient. Just not let anything hold you back.
Right.
And again, I sold 2 houses that year, my first year. Then it went from 2 to 14 to 24 to 25, 30 plus, and I just kept going up and up and up.
Nice.
And you know, you get to a certain level, it's like, all right, now I got to build a team, because I got to be in multiple places at once.
For you to scale, like you said,
you
to
to
scale the
scale.
business, you can only do but so much as in one individual person.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is the hardest part about having a team now?
Managing, right? Because everybody reaches out to you. You know, what should I do? What's the advice? And
How do I handle the situation?
Yeah,
How do I?
you're managing so many different personalities,
Right.
and you got to be available for them, because if you're not available for them, then there's no reason for them to stay on the team.
Stay on
you
the
know?
team.
They want to hear from you. We all hold each other accountable on the team, you know. But I think when it's you, they want to hear from you. You know what I mean? That's I guess that's the number one thing, that you got to continue to pick up the phone,
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they joined you for a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah.
So how does what's a typical day for you? When what time does it start? Because I know you're an early bird.
Yeah, I get up at like 5. I hit the gym for like an hour or two, because I don't got time to work out any other
time.
Nah, because you know, when I got into the business, I had my son, right? Now I have another boy. I have another son.
Congrats.
So yeah, and thank you. But your schedule gets hectic as you get more successful.
Right.
So you have to sacrifice time. I got to wake up earlier to do the things I got to do for myself,
Right.
peace of mind, for a stress reliever, and then spend time with clients, family, business, etc. Before I used to work at night, and then I got to a certain point, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, but because by the end of the day, you're tired.
Not only that, but I'm at appointments. You know, people are calling
true.
me. I have to be. Sometimes I'm at appointments at 7:30.
Right.
So you know, I can't work out at night. And for me, health is wealth. You know, if you don't have your mind, your body right, then you only got one. You know, you got to take care of yourself. So
Well, I look at that really, you know, very, very importantly now. I mean, I turned 50 6 months ago. So for me, it's really, really important.
yeah, health is wealth. You got to take care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah, because we are the business.
We are the business.
Something happens to you, your business fails.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why you got to make the right moves.
The right moves.
You know what I mean?
Right investments.
Yep, and take care of yourself.
Right. Nice. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to, I guess, get into the business now or looking to get started?
I always look at, when I sit down with people, I always ask them, why did you get started? Because if you still living at home and, you know, you in $1 million neighborhood and you ain't paying no bills,
Right.
your motivation, your why is not strong as
It's not
somebody who's living in their mom's basement, don't got no money.
On the
needs to
verge
make-
of being evicted, kicked out.
yeah, has kids, has to figure out a way to survive.
Right.
Like there's a different survivalship there. There's a
true.
different mindset.
It's a
there.
different mindset.
This goes from like, yeah, I'll do a couple of deals, I'll make some money too. I have to survive and I got to make this happen.
I
So
don't
when-
have a choice.
Yeah. So when I sit down with people, I always ask them what their why is, right? And if it's strong enough, then I consider working with them. So figuring out what your why is super important, because in this business, as you know, there's nothing guaranteed.
Nothing.
You know, you could be on cloud nine, and then next thing you know,
you get a phone call, 3 deals just died, right?
Yeah, and it's like, damn, what do I do now?
Right.
Because are you gonna beat yourself up and just dwell in it, or are you gonna be like, you know what, I'm jumping back on the phone and I'm making things happen?
If you were, I always say to people, if you were fortunate enough to be able to put those deals together, you can basically do the same thing again, if not do double.
Yeah, I lost a lot of deals in the beginning of my career, and I always came up with the motto of lose one, gain two.
Right.
I can't get that time back, but I can hustle harder, smarter to get two, to replace that one.
Lose one, gain two, folks.
Yeah,
you hear that?
Lose one, gain two. You know, money gets printed every day. You just got to go get it. You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful thing is when you're on the phones, you creating money. You can create your own business. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, referral business is great. It's amazing to have. The thing is with referrals is you just don't know when they're coming in.
When they're coming, right.
So I always tell people,
and you gotta build yourself up to get to that point.
Exactly.
Right?
So I always tell people you gotta know how to hunt. Like I know how to hunt, so I'm always gonna be able to eat. You know, and I'll give you an example. I called a guy. I wasn't even looking to call in Rockaway Beach, but he popped up on my list. I'm like, all right, I'll call it. Called it. We hit it off. I met with him. I listed the property. I wasn't local, mind you. I was an hour and a half away.
Wow.
But we hit it off. Listed the property. Got both ends on that deal.
Nice.
6 and change. But I leveraged that one, and I sold a penthouse on the 11th floor for $860,000. So from one call, making double-digit commission just on one phone call, both sides, and I sold the penthouse upstairs.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. The opportunities are out there. You just gotta put yourself out there to make it happen.
You gotta go get it.
Yeah.
Nice. Wasn't there someone that I think you had told me about a while ago some guy, I think he lived in Brooklyn. You were trying to get him. He hung up on you, and because I know you have a lot of these stories, and you know people need to hear these stories because they, like you said, everybody sees the finished product and they think that.
Yeah, it's not easy. Look, I wanted to get market share in a certain area, and when you don't have market share in the area, what do? You could send flyers. You could go hit the doors, introduce yourself to the neighbors. You can jump on the phone and make calls. So I made a call because the house had expired. And every time I called him, it was at his business. And I knew that I hit the line. I'm like, all right, this is business. But he would never give me the time of day. He would be like, oh, click. Oh, you're calling me for click. And he would just hang up on me all the time.
Right.
I'm like, all right. I just stayed persistent. I finally got him probably like on the 3rd or the 4th try. And he's like, wow. He's like, you just don't stop, do you? He's like, I keep hanging up on you. You just keep calling me. He's like, you know what? Go meet with my agent. I'm like, why the heck would I want to meet with the agent? Right. He's like, go meet with my agent. He'll interview you and see if you're up for the job. So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
The house was in Hop Hog. So I went to Hop Hog and I met with his agent. Real cool guy. And
real estate agent.
Real estate agent, yeah. I was interviewed by a real estate
agent. And you're a real estate agent.
Yeah, for the position.
You guys hear this?
The house was expired. The issue is the guy next door wasn't the best neighbor.
Ah, okay.
So
we've had a couple of those.
Yeah. So he wasn't the best neighbor. He didn't like him because he looked like us.
Ah, okay.
So he was giving him a hard time selling the house. Yeah. And he's like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had, 3 or 4 Caucasian agents in here, but none of them got the fire like you do. He's like, do you have anybody Caucasian on your team? I'm like, I do.
Right.
He's like, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell Jared, you passed like the interview. I want you to list the house, but you got to find out how we're gonna make this happen.
Right.
I said, not a problem. You know what I mean? Then he's like, I'll connect you with him, and I had to go all the way to Brooklyn to meet the dude now.
I remember.
And
you live in Suffolk County.
Yeah, so it was an hour and a half, and it wasn't guaranteed that I was gonna get the sale because I still had to sit with him and meet him. So we sat a spot. I never ever heard of like a gluten-free Chinese spot. Like it was very random. Like I never even
gluten-free Chinese.
Yeah, it was weird. I never heard it. I was just like, all right, whatever. We sat down. I brought the papers with me because I'm like, I gotta be prepared.
I stay prepared.
Yeah, you gotta.
We stay prepared. We gotta make sure everything's filled out.
Yep. I stay prepared. We hit it off, and he's like, you know what? He's like, I like you. Let's make it happen. Signed it up. And I drove home, and I was like, all right. Sometimes, look, people don't want to take the opportunity or take the chance, the risk, because, again, it's that short-sighted vision.
Right.
Am I really going to drive an hour and a half to go do this? They don't see the bigger picture.
There's always a bigger picture. When you're in front of somebody, it's always, I think, easier to not talk your way out of a situation, but talk yourself into a situation where you're face to face with someone. Or at least I believe. And you do too.
Yeah, the problem with social media now is everybody thinks that it happens overnight.
Right.
You know, this instant gratification that, all right, I'm going to get my license, I'm going to become super successful tomorrow. Like, I'm going to get so many leads, and I'm just going to make X amount of money, 6 figures.
I do some reels, I dance, and then I'm successful.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen that way.
No.
But I took that opportunity, I took the risk to go meet with this guy because I'm like, I saw the bigger picture.
Right.
I got his listing, I sold it, I helped him buy another house, so I got paid on that one. He fixed that one up, he flipped it, got paid on that one, helped him buy another house. On both sides, made money on that one.
And you sold the house.
Yep, and I kept just helping him buy other properties. So from that one phone call, I made so much money because I created that relationship. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's relationships.
Nice. Everything is about relationships. Even the three of us sitting here talking, having a conversation, it's all relationship driven. And that's what we try to tell people. I wanted to go back to, you were talking about when you did the event at Citi Field. You remember where you were when you got that phone call that they wanted you to speak there, and how was that feeling for you?
So social media, I tell people all the time, it could open up doors that you wouldn't even think are possible, right? Just putting the content out, putting yourself out. People are on their phones, I would say, 90% of the time?
90%.
I don't even watch TV anymore. I'm literally just on my phone on YouTube or watching people's content, consuming information.
People go to the bathroom with their phones,
That's
right?
What I'm saying. So I got a DM. They sent me complimentary tickets to the event in Citi Field in 2023.
Nice.
I went. I met the son and the founder. And I met them in the beginning. As soon as I walked in, the son introduced me to the father.
Nice.
And then I just sat in the crowd, and I was like, man, there's like 12,000 people here, and it's in Citi Field. It's at Met Stadium. I'm like, this is big, right? And as I was getting ready to leave the event, I wanted to thank them, but I couldn't find them. So as I'm walking out, I literally bumped into them again.
Literally.
And the father's like, oh, come here, let's talk. We started talking. He said, my son loves your content. I would like to have you as a speaker for 2024. I took it as a grain of salt because sometimes people promise you
things. They
said,
nothing comes out of it.
Oh, let's make this happen, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, definitely, I'll be interested.
Call me, let's do lunch.
Yeah. I'm interested, definitely.
Right.
And no, they are a men of their word. They keep their word. And 2024, I spoke in New York City.
Nice.
That was an amazing opportunity.
Anybody's been to those expos, the real estate expo, you definitely know it's a big crowd. It's game changer.
Yeah, game changer. Ryan Serhant was there speaking. We were in the same room as Ryan Serhant. We spoke right after him.
Nice.
Owning Manhattan, on Netflix. They were all there. They spoke before us. We were in the same room. We were in the biggest room speaking with the biggest crowd.
Nice.
So I was just taking it all in, soaking it all in. You know what I mean? Like how I go about selling 2 houses to being on one of the biggest stages in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. It's just, I got to thank God, and just having that resilience, having that grit, that hustle, and that mindset that I'm not going to let anything hold me back.
Nothing.
And the reason why I'm so big on telling the story and telling my story, because I want to educate, inspire, motivate, and empower others.
Right.
There was nobody who looked like me, so I had to be a one of one. I had to just make a name for myself and build a brand and become super successful. I don't have any associate's degree, no master's degree, no bachelor's degree. I always knew how to sell.
Right.
I was good at selling anything. I could sell myself to somebody.
Water to a whale.
It's
ice in hell.
It's
the list goes on and on, folks.
It's so natural that I'm like, all right, this is the business for me. And thank God, I'm where I am.
Nice. I also wanted to ask. I know you guys, when you were doing your podcast, Real Estate and Chill.
Yeah, check us out, man.
You guys kidnapped Tom Ferry. If you want to tell that story,
I don't know. Maybe you should.
Statute of limitations. I don't know if I should touch that.
You should bleep kidnap, because YouTube is sensitive.
He borrowed Tom Ferry for an hour.
Yeah, so Tom Ferry came to speak in Huntington for Signature Premier Properties, and I was like, all right, he's coming out here. And again, this is me thinking outside the box, just like, I got to make this happen some way. So he put up on his story, what should I do when I'm in New York? I'm coming to Long Island, and I said, come on the podcast, we'll pop confetti, we'll shoot money guns.
Right.
And he reposted it saying, wow, that'll be a good time. I'm in. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, and then I was like, all right, who do I contact?
He don't know who he's messing with. Yeah, when it comes to.
And then he plugged me in with his assistant, and his assistant's like, all right, I'm giving you literally like a half-hour window to podcast with him before the event, but he has to jump on stage, and then he has to jump on a plane and head out and go to speak somewhere else.
Right.
And I'm like, 30 minutes, and I got to find the venue. It's not going to be enough time.
Right.
So I was like, all right, you're going to think I'm crazy, but what if you cancel his driver? I'll drive him, and we podcast on the way there. And she stays silent for like 2-3 minutes. And she's like, you know what? I think he'll be into that. And in my mind, I'm like, okay. Right. You're his assistant. You know him better than I do.
Better, right.
So I was like, okay. I was like, we'll make it happen. It'll be a good time. She's like, just make sure you get him there on time to his flight because he can't miss it. I'm like, not a problem. Mind you, I didn't book a van or anything.
You had nothing ready?
Nothing. But I was like, I got to make this happen. Right. This is an opportunity.
Opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, of course. So got the van, got the Sprinter.
Nice.
We rented it, got him into the van. We were just popping confetti, just having a good time.
Nice.
And again, that's another surreal moment. I'm like, damn, this is like the #1 real estate coach, and I'm sitting next to this guy right now, podcasting with him. Yeah, and that's the power of content. That's the power of having your own platform and having your own voice.
Right.
Is that you can surround yourself with people who are, top tier, are doing things that you may want to do, or just super successful that you could get game from.
Right.
You know what I mean? And from that, I'm like, man, anything is possible.
Right. There's someone else that I know that you've been going after. I remember seeing on your page, Barbara Cochran.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Barbara Corcoran. So Barbara, again, I just like to do things that people don't think I can do, man. I just like to dream big. I have, big goals, and I don't let anything hold me back. So with Barbara's story, the reason why I was going for her is that you look at her, you think she had it easy her whole entire life.
You definitely do, yeah.
Yeah, because, the way she looks. But she was dyslexic growing up. She was made fun of as a kid in school. She has 11 or 12 siblings. So they know how it feels to struggle in a 1-2 bedroom apartment. Right. You know what I mean? And she literally built a name for herself in an industry where, at the time I feel like it
male
was
dominated, 100%,
I would say. And for her to break in that market in New York City is one of the hardest markets to break
into. Right.
Yeah. And not only that, but as a female and become super successful and outwork those bigger brands, those bigger names. Yeah. Says a lot. Right. She ended up selling the business for $66 million. Yeah. And again, she came from similar background, poor, didn't have much growing up, and she just made it happen by any means. She just had that mindset, that hustle, that grit. And I'm like, all right, this is somebody that I can relate to, and that's what just motivated that. I'm like, all right, I gotta get her attention. I gotta make this happen somehow. It's been over a year, but see, this is the thing. Most people would have quit. Right. I'm 30 plus videos in.
30 plus, folks.
And I'm still going, you know what I mean? And when it happens, again, it'll be another surreal moment that I'll be like, damn, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Has anybody on her team looked at the stories? I'm sure someone is paying attention.
Somebody's
Barbara Corcoran, tap in with this guy, please. He's not going to stop until you guys do it or you die of old age. I'm just letting you know now.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, they're paying attention. 30 plus videos in, you got people tagging her left and right in the comments.
Yeah, I've tagged her a couple of times too.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Of course.
But again, it's just having that big vision. You only live once, man. Right. You got to go after what you want. Because at the end of the day, you don't.
No one's gonna give it to you.
Nah, nobody's gonna give it to you. You don't want to be regretful. Like, man, I should have done that.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to live regrets. Final parting words. You have any more questions for?
Yeah, for 2025, coming up with some goals you have that you want to achieve?
Definitely getting Barbara on the pod, going to meet Barb and...
going to meet Bob?
Yeah, going to meet Barb.
Confetti,
But I tell people all the time, like, it's going to happen. And I'm the type of person, like, I always tell certain, like, individuals, like, before I do something, like, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Before I even do it. And I've always been like that. You know what I mean? I've always believed in myself and had faith in God. Like, all right, this is gonna happen. As long as I work hard enough, this is gonna work.
It's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. So for 2025, getting her on the podcast, doing a lot more business, because, you know, this business, if you're not lead generating, you don't have any business.
You have no business.
Yeah.
Right?
So at the end of the year, people always have the same mindset. All right, can I do this again? Can I make all this money? Can I make all these deals happen again? I think every agent goes through that. You know what I mean?
But you know what it is, because it's December 31st. When you hit midnight, it's almost like everything resets.
Yeah.
So you're doing whatever you're doing, but it's always a reset.
But the thing is,
I mean, you keep it going, but it's...
Of course. The thing is with real estate is you got to prepare for months ahead.
Of course.
So I wasn't preparing for 2025 today. I was preparing for this
3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Exactly.
Months ago.
Because the deals that you get in right now may not close until
next year.
2025.
That's
so
a
you
fact.
always got to build a pipeline. You always got to have deals stacked.
Right.
Because if all your deals fall apart, you got to get back to
You're
work.
finished. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't ever get comfortable, because you just never know what could happen in this situation. Either the seller could change their mind, the buyer change their mind. They'll lose their job, or they just don't want to sell anymore or buy anymore. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
How many times have I wasted my time with people? I wouldn't even say wasted, right? Because those deals turned up to be other deals, other referrals.
Other opportunities, something else comes out of it.
You can't be short-sighted. You got to really look at the bigger picture. But doing a lot more business, getting her on the pod, growing the team. I like this one Ryan Serhant quote where he says, "Expansion always in all ways." So I was like, man, that's a bar. You know,
It's like I tell people, nothing happens if nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So just expanding, you know, again, just scaling. That's what any business, you know, you got to think bigger and scale. So those, you know, and taking care of the family, that's the number one priority. You know, if you don't hustle, you don't eat.
That's a fact.
So when you got mouths to feed, you got to hustle. You know, you can't make any excuses. You just got to get to it.
You got to get to it.
Yep.
Right. And you have an event that's coming up first quarter of next year you want to talk about?
Yeah, February 21st. It hasn't been put out there yet, but by the time this release, it should be out there. Got a lot of big names coming out.
Oh, okay.
You know, people flying in to speak at the event. You spoke at one of the events.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, yeah, we were like 200 plus deep in there, but this one I think is going to be our biggest event. We're like 400 plus attendees.
Nice.
So definitely, you know.
I gotta jump on that, folks. Gotta jump on that.
Yeah,
gotta get my son on stage too.
Make sure when you, I'll send you the info and everything out. Yeah, it's going to be a big event.
Nice.
Like I said, that's what I like to do. I like to do big things. I don't like to think small.
Nice. How do people reach you?
Kevin sold my home on all social media platforms. That's where you can find me. Yeah, contact me. I'm always willing to help. And yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you. The 21st, I don't know if you want to talk about that. I guess to that camera.
Yeah, the 21st, Real Estate and Chill coming out with another event. You know, we do game-changing events, and it's always a good time. Education, entertainment. You know, we get the DJs out there, the money guns, the confetti. It's a real estate event, but it's not real estate at the same time, because we make it super entertaining where it's like, this is different.
It's a party.
Yeah. How
Celebration.
many times you go to a seminar and it's the same thing over and over again? It's like, damn, how long is this? You know what I mean? You don't feel like that at our events.
No.
And that's where I came with the name Real Estate and Chill, because I wanted to incorporate the business, but also make it super relaxed where people could be themselves.
A nice networking event.
Yeah.
Nice event altogether.
Yeah, you could definitely turn up and have a good time.
Nice. Thank you again, bro. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Anybody, if you're looking to sell, you're looking to buy, you're looking to invest, 917-337-3727.
516-662-6824.
Femi the Agent on all platforms. And
Femi the Realtor.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Like, share, subscribe. Peace. What's going on, guys? I'm Femi the Agent.
I'm Femi the Realtor.